The Buzzards went for a 3-hour tour recently aboard the SS $5, and wouldn't you know it, got hit by a huge tidal wave from out of nowhere. They found themselves stranded in the ocean with nothing but boxes of old record albums, some books, and a few luxury items floating around. They decided they could only save 5 albums, 1 book, and 1 luxury item each. It was pure hell. They were able to paddle their way to a beautiful deserted island with an abundance of food and natural spring water. Go figure. And you, dear listener, get to find out the items they saved and why they chose them on this episode of $5 Buzz.
Hello, welcome to a very special edition of $5 Buzz. I am your host, Nate Garden, your regular artist in residence. But today, for this very special episode, I'll be assuming the hosting duties. Coming to you live here from Rancho Santa Margarita, California. Beautiful day here. Roger, how was it up there in LA?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's doing just great. It rained a little bit yesterday, but today was nice and sunny. Not that I know, because I never leave my fucking cave.
I left the roof off my fucking Jeep yesterday, Roger, and I went out to gallons of fucking water in my truck, but it dried up right away. So it was, I felt some of that rain.
That's a good story.
Is that a good story?
Yeah, I love it.
Pete knows. Pete used to roll one of those. Peter, how are you?
I'm great, man. Although I was just thinking about a funny story. Yesterday I was driving and got involved in a little bit of a road rage confrontation.
Oh, no.
It turned out really funny. It was I was driving Vanessa's car and we're just going up Fairfax, and this guy, I guess I drifted over in the lane without my blinker on,
Like you do.
The traffic wasn't going too fast, but he was right on me, and then he peels out around me, peels out in front of me, cuts me off. So I gave him the finger, and and then he drives up. I drive up. He slows down to get next to me. He wants me to pull over. I'm like, all right, fine. Let's pull over.
Citizen's arrest.
So we pull off on the street on Waring, and he pulls over. He's in a BMW. He comes down. He rolls his window down. He's like, "Why'd you finger me, mate?" He's British. And I'm like, I just started laughing. I'm like, "I'm sorry, man. Have a great day."
Why did you finger me, mate?
Why'd you finger me, mate? I've been saying it all weekend to Vanessa.
Yeah,
she was in the car. She was with me. She was in between us. She's like, "Okay, let's move."
What? How's this show usually open with the towel in the door and all that?
It's okay. Everybody has their own rhythm. That's a George thing.
That's all George. That's just like custom and ritual now. Like, kids don't have to do that shit anymore, right? In this brave new world we're in, like that. That's just.
I think either
So
kids
they
are
can do it in
probably
the open now.
they're probably doing
that's
edibles.
ritualistic.
They're probably having edibles. They're probably having a pen. I don't think they have to worry about that smell. Maybe the state you're in dictates that all that stuff is legit. And by the way, Nate, I was just up in Boston a few days ago, and marijuana is fully blown legal. I pulled out of the Prudential Center right there on Boylston Street, and it was like everybody was smoking, like more marijuana joints or pre-rolls than cigarettes. It was crazy. I hadn't seen anything like that, but yeah, interesting times, man.
I can't remember who I was talking to the other day, but they were at the hospital and they stepped outside, and there were more people smoking weed outside the hospital and no cigarettes. Whereas 10, 20 years ago, you'd have people smoking cigarettes, and if someone was smoking weed, they'd be all, secretive about it. Exact opposite.
She says it's been illegal in California.
Maybe we are making progress as a society.
Cigarettes are very stigmatized now, Pete. But you smoke your reefer right out on the street.
And dude, it's like one of those blended smells of like tobacco and marijuana, where like you usually only ever experience that at a concert, like an indoor concert, where you walk into like a arena and like you just get hit with that scent. But this is just like out, sunny, 70-degree day, Nate, in Boston. Everyone's like wearing a t-shirt for the first time. and everyone was
Charles
out.
River, all the crew.
Yeah.
That was my town, man. I went to school there for
Nothing like it on a day like that in Boston, New England.
It was
area.
nice, dude. It was a great day to be there.
Okay, all right.
So anyway, I feel like we're zeroing in on the topic du jour. Aren't
yeah,
we?
we're gonna. I was gonna circle around to that.
Nice, Jordan. Nice.
Yeah.
Last week we met, and some of us were prepared and some of us weren't. So we had a little business meeting, and we decided we were gonna reconvene this evening, and we had an assignment. So we're gonna pretend that the assignment was you're on a desert island, and this is an idyllic desert island. There's bountiful fruits aplenty. There's lots of fresh water. Survival is not an issue. We have to bring, what was it, 7 items to the island.
Yes.
7 items. All right. 5 LPs. All right. 5 LPs of our choice. 1 book, 1 piece of literature, and any other
one luxury item.
Article.
Yeah.
You know that, Roger?
1 luxury item.
One item. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the assignment. And we're just gonna go around. And like I said, this is a idyllic. Only buzzards would die here because buzzards being what are they dependent? What do we call that in the food kingdom, Roger? Scavengers. Only buzzards would die on this island. So there's a little irony here.
Yeah.
Right.
But because they would depend on scavenging, but there will be no scavenging because we're all going to die of old age listening to our favorite albums. Lonely, but entertained with our book and our 5 albums. So without any further ado, we're going to go around we'll do a little round robin style here. And Roger, I'm going to turn it over to you, man. Why don't you give me your 5 albums?
Okay. So I'm going to go from number 5, quickly, and then up to the number 1, and I'll just give a reason. You said we have to talk about one of the albums out of the 5.
Give me 5 and defend 1. Yeah.
All right. So I'll start with I've hemmed and hawed, just to say real quick that there could have been albums by the Stooges or Minutemen or Husker Du, Black Flag, Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, Gang of 4, Public Enemy, and of course Sonic Youth for me, but they all just missed out of my top 5. My top 5 begins with the bottom of the deck. There was Closer by the band Joy Division. Because this next artist doesn't have necessarily a record, I had to pick one that included all of his symphonies. So that's Beethoven, the complete symphonies. So it's probably a little cheat there, and that's a box set because
you're taking about 6 gigs of data right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then number 3 would be Rid of Me by PJ Harvey, because I had to have one female voice in that mix. And I love her death so much. And then 1999 by Prince.
Good one.
I need a little funk. I need some funk in my life. But number 1, of course, as a noise junkie that I am, I chose White Light, White Heat by the Velvet Underground.
All right, I'm gonna stop you right there. Age of induction. How old were you? First time you heard the record, Roger? How old is little Roger?
White Light, White Heat. I was probably 13.
So that was after the fact. That wasn't on release. That was.
Well, no, I wasn't. I mean, I was barely alive when the release came out because it was their second record. It came out in '69, and remember, Velvet Underground didn't sell so well in the beginning of their days and became
the Nico days. Yeah,
became much. This is after the first album, Velvet Underground and Nico, and before the regular VU record and before Loaded. They only had 4 official records.
Now let me ask you a second question, Roger. I know you've informed a lot of musical tastes. I know you got a lot of like your nephew and people like you've been a mentor. Was there anyone who informed your taste? Like, how are you turned on to this?
Yeah,
stuff?
It was a guy named Jerry Austin, and he was 10 years older than me to the year. And when I moved in with when my parents split up, my dad and I were living together with his best friend and his son, who was 10 years older. I was listening to all these records with Frank Zappa, Captain Beefheart. He got me onto the Yardbirds, every Zeppelin record, of course, but it was a deep dive in Black Sabbath. It was a shit ton of records, and he had a very eclectic taste. Also got me heavily into horror films. That's a different story. But yeah, it was there that I would listen to like really weird shit. It was like Tangerine Dream. This is like I was 11, 12 years of age.
Yeah.
So,
Very formative.
but he didn't have a lot of punk. Punk rock wasn't his thing. That was my discovery on my own. After he gave me sort of like the license to go beyond just pop music.
But that was the avenue, though. Like without Velvet,
That's right. I mean, without the outsider reference, I mean, I had every Frank Zappa record and Captain Beefheart record, you know, at 11, 12 years of age at that point. So, you know, I was listening heavily to that stuff. And then, you know, so I discovered Tom Waits and you know, all this other stuff for myself. But it was because of that that lent me to be more adventurous and to seek out things beyond what I heard on the radio. Because after a while, I just couldn't listen to classic rock anymore. I just got tired of it. I mean, I really got sick of classic rock. And it's still I mean, I sometimes I'll go back to it now. I mean, I can still listen to Led Zeppelin, of course. I can still listen to, you know, like occasionally, like YouTube, like a lot of bands. I don't hate any of them. I just can't, you know, I just played to death. Like I can't even listen to the Stones that much anymore.
Yeah.
So it's the Beatles, you know, because I've heard them so much.
It's inescapable. It's in the retail streams. It's everywhere you go, man. It's like.
And as I get older, all I want to do is listen to stuff I've never heard. That's all I want to do is find stuff I've never heard. So I'm constantly looking, and you know, Spotify, for whatever, you know, how good or evil that you may think of it as the listener out there. One good thing that it does for me anyway, it has this Discover Weekly, where each week it does a playlist that sort of hones in on my algorithms, finding me stuff that I may have never heard of before. And it's a deep dive that I go down that well, and we'll listen to a lot of shit of bands, and then I'll know them, because then I'll find something I like, and then I find like Porn Trumpet Crumpets. Was a band I just recently discovered. You know, a lot of little things like that, or shake your hands, say, or clap your hands, say yeah. You know, the Australian band. There's all this wonderful stuff out there.
I know Pete does this. Pete and I have this habit we share. It's a behavior. There's no greater feeling to discover a new song and then just like it and you just kill the shit out of it. Do you do that? You just like hear a song and just play it to death repeatedly, like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will never forget when I saw Nirvana open up for Sonic Youth in 1988, 89, just before Bleach came out. And then when Bleach came out, I remember we got the record and I played that fucking thing. I wore the grooves out of that goddamn thing. Yeah. You know, it was like it was something, because it came out of left field, and nobody knew who the fuck they were when they were playing at the Palladium opening up for Sonic Youth. And my whole group of friends, like, I don't know, somebody said they were a psychedelic band. Anyway, I think I might have even told this story before, but it was a, you know, it was a revelation. So something like that. Yeah. So when I find something, I do listen to shit. Like I listened to Fight the Power about 18 million times in a row when I first got the fucking cassette tape, you know, from after I just walked out of the movie, Do the Right Thing, and went and bought the soundtrack. And, you know, just before they put it on, this is before Fear of a Black Planet, when it's on that album. But yeah, I was already a Public Enemy fanatic because of It Takes a Nation of Millions and Yo Bum Rush the Show.
Nice. Well, back to your album defense. What's the standout track?
Well, for me, it's Sister Ray. Always will be. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. It's about 11 minutes long. It's a sonic assault on your senses. It's, you know, I used to call it the if you wanted to end a party, you just play that song and turn it up, and everybody will clear the room but me. You know, get in the middle of the room and just be bathed in. But that's not true. My friends were all into it too. But Sister Ray, you know, in fact, Joy Division does a phenomenal cover of that song. You can find that off of Joy Division's Substance compilation record. With some of their live recordings, and they do a fucking great job of that, a cover of that. But you know, it's you know, and Nirvana does that in Endless Nameless. At the last secret song that was on Nevermind is a sort of a homage to that song in the way that it builds, and it's sort of just, you know, when the Velvet Underground will play that sometimes live, they would play that song from sometimes a half an hour of just pure. It's like My Bloody Valentine with their song. Oh, I should have forget what's the one they close out all their concerts with over the last not 15 years. It's just a sonic. Other people are running away, and I rush to the stage just so I can
Splendid isolation, Roger. That's your realm.
Just get pummeled
That's
with
your
that
realm, brother.
pure noise. Anyway, and
Nice.
the whole record was it's the last album with John Cale. It features more of his writing on it. You know, he does the Lady Godiva and The Gift. You know, where he speaks the spoken thing about the guy mailing himself to his girlfriend, and she plunges the knife into the box and kills him. You know, it's a further exploration of what people were not doing in the peace and love generation. They were talking about sadomasochism and heavy drugs and homosexuality and things that were not very popular in pop art at that time. I mean, or popular in popular art, not to be confused with pop art. So it's
so the Doors were rather pedestrian by
they had their own darkness, but it was more of a romantic darkness. I don't think Velvet Underground was romantic as much as Jim Morrison was influenced by Rimbaud, the poet. So he kind of like sort of embraced that warm dark glow. I love the Doors too. I mean, I don't have a problem with the Doors. It's part of my favorite movie, Apocalypse Now. That also solidified all that. Anyway, so White Light, White Heat. It's their second record. It's my personal favorite album of all time. The Stooges' Funhouse could have easily been on this list. There's a couple different records. The problem with Johnny Cash is that at Folsom Prison is the probably his best actual recorded record. But I mean, the box set is one you need to get. You just get them all. So all the early ones. So you wouldn't let me do that. So fuck you.
But this is one of those hypotheticals too that can change. I ask you tomorrow, and it's going to be something else. It's all
absolutely.
It's subjective to whatever you're going through. That like Pete's is probably completely affected by his road rage. It's going to be a completely different.
Actually, though,
go ahead.
To bring up, mine was influenced by a text message from George, and it also reminds me, when George and I drove across the country back in '99, we always had this running conversation, like the top 5 albums of all time or your favorite 5 albums. And it was just like, it's an ever evolving thing, to your point. But is that me, or are you still going, Raj?
Oh, I was just gonna say.
I'm gonna circle back to Roger. You're just making a point here.
No, I was just gonna say the book and the item real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finnegan's Wake, just so I can figure out what the fuck it means.
Nice.
So I have all the time in the world to finally. I read it once and still
Roger,
know what it means.
You are my soul brother.
James Joyce on the beach and read it again, but I'll need the Britannica Encyclopedia to go with it because of all the different references I'll need to look up. It'll drive me crazy that I wouldn't be able to have a resource to look them all up.
Only Roger would take such liberties with all fresh food, water. It's not enough. He's got to take fucking 6 gigs of Beethoven. He needs a reading companion for his book.
And then my one item would be electricity because I'll need to be able to fucking plug in the record player.
Oh yeah,
it's already there though.
It comes from the cloud, Roger. From the cloud.
That's it. So next one up.
Excellent, thank you, Roger. That was I'm not surprised by your album. I think I expected something in that vein, but that was great, man. Good stuff. Good stuff as per usual. Peter, let's turn it over to you, man. 5 albums.
I expect there'll be some crossover with George. I have a feeling on this one, but I'll rip them off real quick. Animals by Pink Floyd is definitely on there. The soundtrack to Oh Brother Where Art Thou with Alison Krauss and Union Station. I love her voice. I love the gospel music. I love all. I could listen to that thing. I've never tired of it. I absolutely love it.
That bluegrass band, the Gibson Brothers from Shady Gay. They're all over that thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding. That's amazing.
Yeah. Andy Biloh's cousins.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
All world.
Yeah. I would take a live Grateful Dead remastered album. I'd probably take the Live at Nassau Coliseum called Wake Up to Find Out. It's with Branford Marsalis playing saxophone all throughout. It's a beautiful moment in time. I really, really enjoyed that. I think I would take 36 Chambers would have to go on there, Wu-Tang, just for a completely for it's amazing. It's just an amazing album as it is.
It is. So
And then I would have to go back in time and get some Nina Simone going for that female jazz
Nice.
voice going as well. And that's probably that's my 5 right there.
Cool.
what's the one that you would argue?
Which one you can defend?
Yeah, you have to defend one.
I would take probably Animals first. I would say, Dogs is just it's a long and winding road. I love it. It's a great musical experience. I think it's a masterpiece.
Pigs on a Wing. Well, you and I have had some experiences to Pigs on a Wing. Too.
Yes, absolutely.
Those are the bookends, man. Those two.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
They're just, it's such beautiful, beautiful music. Like
absolutely. And then for the book, I was torn between 2. I'm gonna be that guy and say 2, but I'm probably gonna go with The Stand by Stephen King.
Nice.
Because it's long and it's a real character study, and you can really get lost in that book and that story, and it's fucking cool. Or Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka is also another one I would.
It should be a quick read.
It would be quick. It's a novella. It's short, but that has its benefits too.
Yeah.
And then my luxury item would be a golf set. I would just I would sit around.
That's a good idea.
I just golf all around that place the whole time.
Just chip.
Yep, just chipping, whatever,
Sticking golf balls in porpoise holes and shit.
Yeah.
I was gonna say a movie theater with every movie available.
There you go.
I figured I'd be cheating. Anyway,
Nice.
Well, go ahead, George.
Well, I didn't get a chance to. I got
follow up. Yeah.
I want to ask you, Pete. I know you got a whole disciplehood that you've informed. Who informed your musical taste?
Well, that's a really good question, because I didn't. My dad and mom did not listen to much music.
Right.
There wasn't
Same.
records lying around.
Same.
There wasn't. I got to kids in Plattsburgh. We would listen to stuff like, obviously Pink Floyd was a huge thing around.
Yeah.
Those parts. But
Spiegels and shit.
yeah, but post college, man, I have to say you were one person that definitely opened my mind to a lot of music. Going down when I would go down to Santa Monica and visit with you and get into those deep dives with Zevon and all that stuff that I love and listen to this day. I mean, yeah, I would say you were one of those people.
Oh, Peter, you were formed, man. You were formed before it.
I was almost there. I was almost there. I didn't take much. I didn't get into. I never got into much deep dive. I mean, yeah, it's weird how you pick up things. Living in Prague, it was all house music. So there was a whole 3 years of my life I didn't really listen to any of my own music. It was all different in electronic music.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's interesting.
Pete and I we grew up on the Wizard, WIZN.
Yeah, it was all classic rock, man.
It was a classic rock
I've heard of that
station.
station.
It's the same as every other classic rock station across the country.
Same playlist.
Same playlist.
But
there's just something about, I don't know.
yeah. Ours is 95.5.
Yeah.
Do they still play that?
106.7.
I was home. I mean, the Wizard still sounds like the Wizard. They're still playing, it's Skate Away is every third song and shit. It's like you go home and you're when you get in a rental car, it's gonna be Dire Straits or AC/DC, one or the other.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Some CCR, some fucking who's that guy? Fly like an eagle.
Oh, Steve Miller Band.
You always remember.
Do you guys remember? Oh yeah. You guys remember Cliff Lee from our second episode?
Yeah,
he informed a lot of my musical taste. He's a big blues fan. He exposed me riding around in his truck to a lot of stuff I'd never heard. Old, going back 40s, 50s blues, and I loved it. It's amazing how many Rolling Stones songs come from a lot of that music. It's incredible, actually.
Oh, their first 2 albums were.
You mean all of it?
Yeah.
Bucka White, Charlie Patton, Blind Lemon Jefferson, all those motherfuckers.
All that, man. It was great.
Influential, yes.
Oh, about the Brian, they would have stayed that way, man. Mick and Keith needed royalties though, so they locked him in the kitchen and made him write songs. And hey, man, got to hand it to them. Those guys know how to write a hit song.
And then they
Dude.
discovered disco in the 70s.
Well,
Yeah.
Too Much Blood. Speaking of, what album was that off of?
That's from Undercover.
Because you used it on the promo for Steve Van
Steve Van
Patten
Patten.
show, and it's on my spot. It's on one of my playlists. It's one of my I hooked right into that song. I
Yeah.
love that jam, dude. I don't know why. I absolutely love that.
It's
song.
a fun. It's a total. That whole world music thing in the early '80s that everyone was jumping on the bandwagon. And
Peter Gabriel was into that a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. The Stones are never one to miss out on a trend. Like Mick's always going out and dancing and hearing some new shit, and he brings it back to the studio. Much to Keith's fucking, Keith wants to keep it blues, but Mick's doing the next newest thing.
Yeah.
But that's a blatant ripoff of Thriller and like Peter Gabriel.
You wouldn't have Prince without Mick Jagger.
That's true.
He's the one who helped support his career and get him going.
Guys, I
Prince,
can use the
greatest
restroom
Super
real
Bowl
quick.
halftime show of all time. Prince. Gotta give it to Prince.
All right, let's take a little break here.
Hey everybody, this is Eric from Slate River Farms. You may remember me from episode 1, titled Farm to Toilet. I'm just dropping by to remind you to please follow $5 Buzz on Instagram. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and hit the subscription bell on YouTube. That way, you'll never miss an episode. The Buzzards have some great content locked and loaded for Season 3. I know I'm excited. Also, please check out Slate River Farms' website and our socials. We raise and sell certified grass-fed, grass-finished beef and pastured heritage breed pork on our 4th-generation family farm in upstate New York. Order online and we'll ship our goods directly to your doorstep via one-day shipping for all of New England, New York, New Jersey, and PA. From our pastures to your doorstep, life gets crazy. At SRF, we believe in peace, love, and pork chops.
All right, welcome back. Peter, thank you for sharing. So we had one more time, the favorite album for us was Animals, Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
We had was it The Stand?
The Stand was the book. Yeah. That one.
And your golf clubs.
And my golf clubs. Yeah.
All right.
Because I figure if I've got eternity or however long left on the sound, I'll build a little 3-hole course,
Yeah, why not?
course you
Why
would.
not?
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
something,
Need something to do.
Hell,
Yeah.
you could even build a 9-hole.
Yeah. Or an 18-hole, Roger.
Wow.
You can do that.
You can do so many activities.
So many activities.
I do mini putt, man. I make a fucking mini putt.
Yeah, dude.
Remember that shitty mini putt by the city beach?
With the go-karts and the
Yeah, dude.
one time at that mini putt, I was just screwing around and I threw a ball up and I swung it like a baseball, made perfect contact and launched it to the crate center.
Oh,
I probably
man.
hit a car or something.
Oh, for sure, dude.
Just hitting it right on the button, and you
Just right on the button. I mean,
Yeah.
nailed it.
Yeah.
That's $1 million shot, man.
$1
That's hard
million.
enough to do with a baseball bat, but with a putter. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's turn. I'm George. I want to turn it over to you, man. Why don't you give me your 5 albums and
Yeah, man.
defend one of them in your best Richard Del Giudice Senior Colloquium thesis.
Wow. Yeah. So I thought about this a lot. I don't know if these are my favorite albums, but I just was thinking about music that I would always want to listen to all the time. So 2 classic rock. I went with Sticky Fingers,
Nice.
which I really enjoy. I don't think there's a weak moment on the album. So did some Rolling Stones, Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles. I just remember when I was in college, like for like a brief period, there was a lot of kids getting thrown off the hall, and I was in my room listening to music by myself a lot. And because one of my other roommates always had like the music playing, like I just deferred to the roommate. And I listened to Magical Mystery Tour a lot, and I think it's probably I think it's the Beatles' best album. Like all the songs are great. All You Need Is Love. Yeah, all of them. I love all those
Baby
songs.
You're Rich Man. That's a great album.
I just love Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields Forever. This is really good music, man. I really liked it, and I thought it was still kind of like psychedelic, like era. I would say Dr. Dre, The Chronic. We were reading this. The 100 best albums from about Los Angeles or for Los Angeles. I was kind of confused by some of the picks. Like one of them was like Check Your Head by the Beastie Boys. I'm like, what the fuck? That has nothing to do with Los Angeles, I don't think. But The Chronic was number 2, and this other album by a band called Love, which I didn't know anything about, was number 1. So I went and listened to that. I'm like, this is not fucking better than The Chronic. But
Well, Check Your Head was a Los Angeles record.
really, I didn't know.
They moved here just after Paul's Boutique, during Paul's Boutique. They moved from New York to Los Angeles, and that's where they were based for a long time.
Okay, so that's probably why. But
Rick Rubin produced that album?
Yes.
Did he? I didn't know. Okay.
Which one?
I thought he only did Ill
Check Your Head,
Communications.
yes. No, he did Check Your Head, but I didn't think who produced. I mean, Dre produced the Chronic himself, right?
The Chronic is Dr. Dre's album, but he's probably only appears as a vocalist on a handful of them. He's the producer, did all the sampling, the beats, the keyboard, pretty much put the whole project together. But I don't know, that whole sound of like the West Coast G-funk sound with the synthesizers, and obviously it's like recorded during the Rodney King incident and the LA riots, or right around that. That was basically the soundtrack for all that.
George, I know when you were a kid growing up on Long Island, you had a buddy, and his brother kind of was he listening to the West Coast stuff too, or was he all?
Yeah, he actually gave me the Straight Outta Compton album that I heard for the first time, which was obviously Dr. Dre was involved in that. And I remember like Eazy-E and Ice Cube were like the big names of the group, right? Like, I feel like I knew who Eazy-E was before NWA. I feel like I heard of him before or heard some of his music. But Ice Cube had gone on to have like a really big
stellar solo career.
Yeah, solo career. He was coming out really aggressively. He was using a lot of at that time the Bomb Squad, which was the producers for Public Enemy.
Yeah, Hank Shockley.
Yeah, Hank Shockley and his brother Keith Shockley. And then when Dr. Dre did The Chronic, it was like out of nowhere. It's like, oh wow, Dr. Dre from NWA, and then he had Snoop Dogg and all these guys. So I feel like I would have to have that album. And then the other two, one, I don't know if you guys really care about a band called Rancid. They're a punk rock band from Oakland or Berkeley, California. It's called And Out Came the Wolves. It's one of my favorite albums ever. I just love the songs. It's like kind of sort of like the Ramones, but they have a really great bass player. It's a lot of it's like the Ramones, Social Distortion, but two different singers. Billy Joe from Green Day was supposed to join Rancid, decided to start Green Day, and this other dude called Lars Fredriksson, who was in a band called the UK Subs, which was a British punk rock band. And he is I think the guy is like one of the best punk rock singers ever. I just love Rancid. And I listen to that album nonstop over and over again. And then I guess I would defend this one is Use Your Illusion 2 by Guns N' Roses from 1991, the same year that we did a whole show on. I think it was released a week before Nirvana's Nevermind. So, the 90s were like, the age of like alternative grunge hip hop, but like Guns N' Roses was still the biggest band in the world. Metallica was opening for them while they were promoting the biggest album they ever made. And there was just like this really sense of danger and hedonism and like all these like forces going on with Guns N' Roses, and they're like tearing apart football arenas and
stadiums,
like the whole world is like burning around them. And they're doing the I was listening to a podcast about like the anniversary of the Terminator 2 movie, and I remember like Guns N' Roses had that song with Terminator 2.
Yeah,
it was like the whole thing of like the video.
You Could Be Mine, right?
You Could Be Mine. Yeah. But it was like, remember, like, and then I was listening to another podcast recently about how like Prince was doing the music for the Batman movie. But if you remember, like the whole like marriage of music and movies, and they would do this big long build up before the movie came out. So you kind of like, oh, I saw the video. And so I don't know. I think those Guns N' Roses albums are like very like the production quality is just so high. Like they just have like a limitless budget. Like I think those guys just got a blank check to do whatever they want. And that was probably the last
because of that first record. Yes.
Yeah. It was like not,
But-
but the production value, like the drums and the bass playing, I could just hear. I just
November
really-
Rain is I mean,
Yeah,
is on that album.
that's on Use Your Illusion.
Axel turned into Elton John, man. He's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I can't remember what's on one and what's on two.
Yeah, that was Use Your Illusion 1, the red one, and the blue one is the one that I like them both. But and it's interesting, the album was named after a painting by this guy called Mark Hastabi, and he's an artist from Estonia, and I follow him on Instagram, and obviously Estonia is close to Ukraine, so a lot of the art he's doing now is just like in blue and yellow, and he has this really distinct looking, like stick figure-ish abstract, I don't know if it's abstract, but like, you know, you kind of have to look at the painting and like come up with your own meaning of it, and a lot of it's like this sad Estonian, Ukrainian type vibe going on with the blue and the yellow and just like everything that's going on. If you get a chance, check it out. But it's interesting. Axl Rose found this guy and he's like, yeah, that's what we're naming the album. But also Appetite for Destruction was also a painting that they named the album after. So I don't know. Those would be the ones. Those are albums I've listened to all.
what are your standout tracks on those, George?
I guess I would just go with Civil War, which
Yeah.
is like a 7-minute song. Like Slash has some really great guitar playing. It was the last song with Steven Adler.
Yeah.
It's the only song he played on, but I thought his drum playing was really good. But I guess
Civil
Samples-
War, the one that
it's
has the Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah, it's
overlay?
the Warden. The samples the Warden from Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Beginning,
exactly. And I remember I was a kid.
Brother
and-
Martin was that actor.
yeah.
Strother Martin, Paul Newman's
Yeah.
real buddy film, not Robert Redford. Strother
Yeah.
Martin and Paul Newman are in more films together than Redford and Newman.
I always, dude, before I saw that movie, I heard this song first, and I was like, I thought that was a woman. Just hearing it, and then I'm like, oh wow, this is not what I thought it
We
was.
have here.
Yeah, failure to communicate. Yeah, so those would be the albums. And just last thing on the Guns N' Roses, the Civil War. I remember I was like driving from like New York to Washington D.C. with my parents for like a summer vacation, and we would get all these like statically radio stations coming on, and this like Guns N' Roses song came on. It was Civil War, which I think they played at like a Live Aid concert. You know, like every band would come out and play like 2 songs. So they were playing like the whole concert, and then like this new Guns N' Roses song came out. I was like, oh, I'd never heard that before. But then I guess books, I would probably go and say, I didn't want to do this, but I would normally pick like George Orwell 1984, but I decided that would be too cynical. So I'm going with Cormac McCarthy, Blood Meridian.
Oh, nice.
Which is a very, I guess, dystopian Western.
It is.
And they say, Roger, that they've tried many times to like come up with a screenplay or film it, and it's always interesting to see who they are going to try and be the actors. And
He's
they
been
can't.
filmed so many times, but not that one.
Yeah,
No, you're
so
not gonna make that.
it's not a feel-good story, but it's a long, very verbose book that I like to read. I would like to read it again. So if I was stranded on an island, like I would read that. And Pete, my my device that I would bring with me would be a Leatherman. I feel like I use that thing nonstop, and it's like it's the most useful thing that I have, and I know exactly where it is all the time, and it's just a great tool, and I feel like it would come in handy.
Yeah,
stranded
man.
on a desert island.
You can mince your papayas and shit with it.
Yeah, the serrated knife, the little saw, the little bottle opener, everything.
I'd bring one of the, remember the Rambo movies, and like you go to the Clinton County Fair, Pete, and get the big fucking shitty plastic
knife?
handled survival knife with the teeth, and it had the
Didn't it have a
cable for,
compass in
cutting
the
wood,
bottom?
the matches in it. and
It
the
has a
hooks.
compass and
Yeah.
needle and thread. if you
Yes.
put up
Yeah.
a compass. So
Yeah.
you can, you know,
Came from China.
so you can stitch up your arm when you.
Yes.
Yes.
I'd bring one of those, Pete. In addition to what I'm going to bring. All right. Good share, George.
Well, now I think it's time for our intrepid host here to give us his list.
All right. Okay, my list, my five, and like I said, these things these change from day to day. There's 2 or 3 albums on here that are mainstays. Ziggy Stardust. I mean, I listened to that album since I think I first heard that when I was about 17, 18. I found that after the Stones. I was kind of into my development before I discovered Ziggy Stardust, David Bowie. I consider that late in my because my music's kind of stayed within that. I don't know. I don't want to say classic rock because I fucking hate Boston. I hate shit like that. When I think of classic rock, I think of More Than a Feeling on the jukebox and shit. Just that 106.7 sound that we like, Peter.
Yeah.
And it started with the Doors when I was a kid. That I played the hell out of the Doors, and they were just become I can't hear another Doors song as long as I live. But I graduated the Stones. Ziggy Stardust, absolutely on there. Solo Beach Boy album, Dennis Wilson's Pacific Ocean Blue is that's always been a big favorite of mine. It was the first of the Wilson brothers to go solo, and it's just a really underrated, really undiscovered. Few people have really. It wasn't even available for years. It was there was the CD was finally reissued when they were still reissuing CDs. About 10 years ago, but
I remember that
was
man,
one of those albums that came out. And
sorry to interrupt, but I do remember, dude. I was a long time subscriber to Rolling Stone. I would still get the magazine like well past before anyone was still checking for it. And I remember they made a big deal about that album coming reissued, the Pacific Ocean Blue. And I remember I went out and got, or I don't know if I bought it, but I went and downloaded it or listened to it, and I definitely remember them making a big deal about that.
Yeah, it's a great album. Dennis Wilson was he was kind of considered a pounder, and he was never really taken seriously as a drummer. But if you give that album a listen, it's it's hard to compete with Carl Wilson and Brian Wilson. It's like those are tough acts to follow. But I mean, Carl Wilson had the voice of an angel, and Brian's just Brian. But
that album is in Colin Larkin's all-time top 1,000 albums. If you ever want to go down a deep dive of a really great list, Colin Larkin kind of has this famous list of all-time greatest albums, and it's on the list.
And Nate, just
there's 1,000 of them. So
Nate, just to kind of bring it back to another episode we did called Pictures of Dives.
Yes.
Didn't one of the bars you mentioned, Shay J, wasn't that where Brian Wilson had his last cocktail?
Dennis Wilson had his last Budweiser there. Yeah, he lived at the Hotel California across the street, and him and his old lady they would get into domestics and come over and do their drinking over at the bar. And he came over early. It was Christmas morning, and he was over there having a drink, and he was being a prick, and they kicked him out. And then he walked down to Marina Del Rey and started diving into his old or the Harmony. His boat was called the Harmony, and it was in one of the slips there, and it had been vacated. But he was diving down in there with a mask, looking for old shit that he'd thrown overboard. And I guess on the last trip up, he must have hit his head on the dock or something, but he went down and drowned. Was that 1983, Roger? Is that right? Yeah, Christmas Day.
Early 80s.
Yeah. Sorry to derail your thought process here, though.
Now, where was I? I got Pacific Ocean Blue. I got Ziggy Stardust. I'm going to put Exile on Main Street is going to go on there. And I was going to defend that today, but I don't think you need to hear another defense of Exile on Main Street. I think everything's been said that can be said about that album. See, I had another one. What was it? Going to the...
You can write them down?
No, they're usually in my head, man. I had this shit ready to go in my brain. Street Legal by Bob Dylan is the one I'm going to defend. And I'll just throw Tom Waits, Orphans, Brawlers, and Brawlers on there. The 3-disc Tom Waits album. In a pinch, that'll do. Always like Tom Waits. I think that'd be some good.
Yeah, my favorite is Swordfish trombones.
Swordfish trombones. Yeah. There's a lot of good music on. I put one of those Tom Waits tracks on your birthday.
You did.
Pete's too. I think you both got.
I think you gave me one.
Yeah.
You both got one. Tom Waits was featured on there, but I'm going to defend Street Legal by Bob Dylan. It's he's made a lot of great albums. He's made a lot of shitty albums, but he's only made one weird album. And Street Legal is it is probably the weirdest, strangest Dylan album ever committed to wax. Give you a little background on how I got into Dylan. When I was a kid, I had this uncle who gave me this big stack of vinyl, and it was when CDs were coming out, and like I wasn't going to go and replicate that collection. It would cost me thousands of dollars to get those all on CD, and I had this big pile of media. And my brother and I were down at this place. Pete might remember this place, J&J Discount at the North Country Shopping Center. Remember that spot, Pete?
Oh yeah.
I've told you guys this story before. And there was this old record player there with an 8-track player on it. And there was this big shoebox full of Bob Dylan 8-tracks. And the only thing I knew about Bob Dylan was the Raymond Zarek impression on the beach from the Doors movie. So I had no idea who this Bob Dylan guy was. I just knew he was from the 60s. And so I get this box of 8-tracks and I bring it back to my house and just start playing them just because that's all we had to play on the 8-track machine. And this album Street Legal was on there. And this fucking thing just spoke to me. It was like if anyone's heard the album, it's coming off the period of Blood on the Tracks, was
Right
followed
after
by Desire, and then the Rolling Thunder. So he's coming out this really, really creative arc of his career. And then he was getting divorced, and it's the one album between all that creativity and then the freaking shitstorm of the what do you call it? The religious period that he went through when he was making all the like Saved and all that stuff. It's a stand. He revitalized his whole band. He changed his whole band around and then stopped. It's like
female vocalist background, female background vocalist.
Oh yeah, it's just really crazy.
Just the song titles alone, if you read them in order, reads like a story. Changing of the Guards, New Pony, No Time to Think, Baby Stop Crying.
Well, that's what it was. And half those songs are
amazing,
bitching about his divorce, and the other half are these like epic Dylan songs that like take Dylan turn a phrase to a whole new level.
Yeah,
it was one other thing that influenced that record heavily for him, and that was the death of Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
And
yeah, well, it very much sounds just it's like that whole album sounds like the Elvis stage show in Vegas. It has a very big band, like stage kind of sound to it, with all the black gospel female singers and the Hammond organs, and it's got a lot of like really like the guitar from we were just speaking on the what the hell Like a Rolling Stone. Who is it? Who plays the keys on that? Al Cooper.
Al Cooper would be his keyboard player.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of big sound to it. But at the time when it was made, this album, it had too much I guess you call it AM instrumentation, and it's really kind of murky, the sound. And for me, it didn't work on me because I had an 8-track. It's as murky as it gets, and I fucking fell in love with it. But initially, it didn't get very reviewed well. But the reissues they've done since, the ones they've remastered, like it's one of the most pristine sounding Dylan records of the entire ORV. But I just it's a cool fucking album, and I just can't do it justice in words. But it's that's my Desert Island Dylan album for sure.
Glasgow gives that a thumbs up, doesn't he?
Glasgow's yeah. It's like I say, you kind of feel weird saying it's your favorite album, but it legit is. It's my favorite fucking Bob Dylan album. I don't know why. It's just it just always is and always has been.
I want to take a dive into it.
I love the outsider influence. It's great. I mean, everybody's gonna pick Blonde on Blonde or Highway 61 or Blood on the Tracks, but that's a solid pick.
Was also Sam Peckinpah's favorite Bob Dylan album.
He was with us for tidbit there for you, Roger. Peckinpah wasn't here. He did Ronaldo and Clara just before that movie.
Well, yeah. Well, he did the soundtrack for Pat Garrett, but he was in Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Played the character name Alias. Yes.
There you go. But,
you guys are impressive.
Yeah, Street Legal is would be my definitely my defense. So those are my 5 albums. You know what my fucking album was? It was so stupid. It was London Calling by The Clash.
Yeah.
You threw me off sharing that
Kiev Calling
Clash parody today.
What a parody.
I think Joe Strummer approves that usage. But book would be I'm gonna go with Ulysses, Roger. For the same reason.
With the Joyce brothers today.
Yeah, man. It's
With
I've tried reading that book. I remember I was told when I was a kid, like the hardest book to read is Ulysses. If you can read Ulysses, I'm not a literary scholar by any means, but I've read the American canon. I feel like I'm fairly well-read dude. And I've attempted to read that book. I tried when I was 40 years old again to read it. And I have a lot of trouble with that book. And I continue to have trouble just because the varying writing style, and each chapter is written in a completely different style than the previous. And it's subject to interpretation, I think. But I think sitting on a desert island for a long time, I would really have an opportunity to really attack that one and finally get that comprehension I'm looking for.
That's right. It's one of those records. It's one of those books that's like, Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow, or David Foster Wallace's Infinite Jest in more modern times, or Proust's In Search of Time Lost. It's one of those monumental novels that everybody talks about, nobody's read.
Yeah.
But I have read Ulysses, and I have read Finnegan's Wake, and I have read Gravity's Rainbow. I have never read Proust. Yeah. But it's one of those things that you can reread and still not even get to the depths of,
It's a 24-hour period in Dublin, man. 3 people in a fair, and just
really,
yeah, it's just one, it takes place over one day, and
it's the language itself and how he writes it. And of course he creates stream of consciousness that is has deeper meaning, that everything is almost a footnote to something else.
Yeah.
Therein lies the mystery. It takes you down a rabbit hole, hence the Britannica encyclopedia.
Exactly. And it's based on every chapter is a chapter of the
creates new words, like portmanteaus, where he takes 2 words and creates new words out of them that become lexicon later on in life. Words like smog, smoke, and fog. That's a portmanteau.
What was that genre called, Roger? It was he gave rise to, it was modernism. Was that what it is?
Well, modernism, he would be, I think, the beginning of modernism.
Yeah.
But Fitzgerald is modern.
100 years ago, but yeah.
Yeah, modernism really is, Fitzgerald and all those guys.
Yeah. But so that's my book, and I think I bring my crayons, man. I would bring my Crayolas. Pete knows if I go before him, they put the 24 pack in my casket to the ever after. I love having my crayons. I've always had my crayons on me. I like to doodle, so I would definitely bring my crayons on the island, and I would spend my days doodling on the rocks, I guess, or whatever. Maybe I'll bring a pad with me too. So that's what I would do. If I see Pete, I can keep his golf. I can design a golf course for him.
Yeah.
Crayons.
We just cruise over to each other's islands. Let's go make the rounds.
Cats. Well, I think we did a roundelay there. I think
timed it out perfectly.
We got Street Legal, and we got Dogs. Animals by Pink Floyd, Street Legal by Bob Dylan, Use Your Illusion 2 by Guns N' Roses, and White Light, White Heat, Velvet Underground. I think it's a hell of that would be a good weekend if you just put them one right after the other.
For sure.
I bet we could put an hour of music together for our listeners.
Yeah. Hey guys, you know what? We forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show, but we just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of $5 Buzz, and we're coming up on the 50th episode. So this would be episode 48, and episode 50 is not too far away. So it's been a great, eventful year, and I feel like Nate, you said, it feels a lot longer than 1 year, hasn't it?
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It's like a relationship.
Well, congratulations, guys. As a group, we've made 48 now. You're saying, and they're all unique. They're all a document. They're all cool.
It's a document. Exactly.
It's a really awesome thing. I'm really proud of it. So
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Thanks for mentioning that, George.
Yeah, and then lastly, if anyone out there is, you heard that episode with Adrian Bonenberger, our guest, our two-time guest, where he was talking about Ukraine, and he actually went over to Ukraine to train some of their military volunteers, I guess. I don't know if I'm doing it justice by explaining it the right way.
You're right, yeah.
But he was on CNN. He got interviewed by Anderson Cooper. So it's nice to see him getting recognized for his expertise. But he's
it's sad to realize that that's still happening, and that was a few episodes ago. I don't know if I thought this would still
we're
be
into
going
week
on
4
this
now.
Yeah.
Week 4.
He's putting his fucking money where his mouth is, and
Yeah.
it's really I guess a really brave fucking thing to do. So I hope he's staying safe, and I would hope that you start seeing him pop up on some of these important shows or things of that nature. So respect to Adrian. Good luck to everyone over in that part of the world. It's just a really unfortunate situation. Hopefully it's over soon and cooler heads prevail. So yeah.
To you guys all, everyone else on the island, thanks for playing. Hopefully you never find yourself in this situation, but if you do, you got your music. And I think that's it. We'll wrap it up.
Thanks everyone for listening, and
Roger, take us out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening to this latest edition of $5 Buzz. We're really happy that you got to enjoy all the albums that we discussed and everything else. And if you have any questions, topics, ideas, comments, blah, 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 email us at $5buzz, and that's FIVEDOLLARBUZZ at gmail.com. We'll get back to you as soon as we get done being rescued from being castaways on our own private islands. Thank you. Have a great day.
It's down in South OC. Things up good up there.
Yeah.
We did all that. Quick, you start over again. I fucked up already.
Sure.
No, just keep
Yeah,
going.
start over.
Fuck it. All right. 1, 2, 3, go. Go ahead.
Fucking A. All right. Welcome to a very special edition of $5 Buzz. I am your host, Nate Garden, your usual artist in residence, but I'll be assuming the hosting duties today for a very special edition of we don't really have a name for the show yet, do we, gentlemen? It's Buzzard Island, I guess we're gonna call it. But God damn it, guys! Someone else has to do this fucking job. I'm blowing up.
You're doing great.
Just make sure all this stays recorded, please.
Nah, someone else
doing
do this. I
great.
can't fucking run the show.
You're doing, dude. You are the perfect person to do this.
Oh my
Please.
God!
And we could just erase all all the shit. It doesn't matter. We have an editor.
I need drugs and alcohol again.
Hey, this is funny already. We're not changing a single fucking thing.
All right, start it over.
WNBC. Yep.
Hey, we recording?
Yeah. We've
All
got
right.